Hello, world. What is up? Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte. We are here live at the Build studio in New York City. Our first guest today is a fixture in the New York food scene, serving as the proprietor and chef of restaurants from Brooklyn to Montauk. He's also a co-founder of the organization Beyond Type 1, a best-selling author, and is now partnering with Medtronic Diabetes to help those managing the disease to live more and worry less. Here to tell us all about the campaign and what he's been up to, please welcome the great Chef Sam Talbot. Come on, guys. Make some noise.
The great. That's.
I think so. Yeah. You should be good.
Am I good? Okay,
There we
cool.
go.
The
You're
great. That's awesome. I appreciate it. The great Chef Sam Talbot. That's awesome. Thank you for having me. This is really cool to be here.
It's super cool to have you here, man. Big fan of what you do, and super excited to talk to you. Congrats. So much cool stuff going on. But first, just how are you? How is Sam? What's going on with Sam, man?
Yeah, man, I'm great.
You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing really good. Just came off a really fun snowboarding trip. I was in British Columbia yesterday, so that was a lot of fun. Yesterday, I landed at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was in negative 29-degree Celsius weather. Oof. So that was really warm. And yeah, I mean, it was like brutal. Like your breath was turning to ice.
How long were you out there?
I was there for 4 days, just snowboarding, having a really good time.
That's amazing.
Bit of a storm chaser, so they were getting dumped on, and my buddy was like, "We have to go to British Columbia," and I was like, "But it's so warm in California right now. Do we really have to go there?" But we went.
So you picked it up almost like on a whim. Like you just saw.
We just went.
Conditions were right, and you guys.
I have a few friends that's what they do. They sit in front. They follow storms, whether it be for surfing or snowboarding, and I don't really have to do much other than just get on a plane and go. But they're like my. They follow apps and track things.
Those are like really nice friends to have.
Really good friends. When you get that text and you don't have to do any thinking, you're just like airport, town.
Grab my stuff and go.
Go. Yeah.
You have a go bag at the ready at your apartment.
Yeah, I kinda. Actually, I do.
Times.
As well, especially as a type 1, as a chef and a person living with type 1 diabetes. I'm always prepared. There's a lot of method to the madness. So I do have a go bag. I don't know if it's like snowboard ready per se, but it's got
the stuff. It's got the essentials.
The essentials.
Same friends that how you ended up in Hawaii?
Say that again.
Same friends that like call you.
Different friend. Yeah, I have few friends in different area codes. I'm a lucky guy. But that friend, different friend. That friend lives in Oahu. I was in Hawaii. I got to watch the pipeline finals from the Billabong house, which is really cool. I don't know if you guys know much about the North Shore, the waves that are happening there, but it's like, it's probably one of the biggest, most powerful, most majestic things you can see when that wave, during the winter, when that wave picks up and it breaks down, and these, the top 44 surfers in the world, Kelly Slater, Seth Moniz, these guys are out there charging, and you're watching from like the porch of the Billabong house, and when that wave cracks, the whole house shakes, and you're just watching these people go out there and risk it. It's really cool. So that was a fun experience.
Is that something you do every year? Do you go out for that? Or?
I go to Hawaii as much as I can.
Yeah.
It's a place. It's
naturally.
Yeah. I love being there. I love being at the beach. It's great for my glucose levels. It's great for my food. When I'm at the beach, when I'm in that environment, I'm just happier.
Yeah.
Not that New York City is not a bad place during this time, but it's just I'm just a little bit happier with the
I don't think anyone and nobody in the universe will fault you for saying I relax more at Hawaii than I do in New York.
Yeah.
Like,
There's not.
It's not a bold stance to take.
Totally. There's not much.
Get it. Yeah.
There's not much of a chill zone here.
No, it's different. It's a different.
I tried to find a little pocket in Brooklyn, but even like that was taken. So, yeah.
Taken away.
Yeah. Once. Anyway, yeah.
Well, you travel a lot, man. I bring it up because those are just two places that you've been, but you go all over the world all the time. And I'm curious, what's your favorite place to go to eat specifically? Like, where's a place that I can't wait to get there. I'm gonna do this and that, but I'm gonna eat when I get there.
To be honest, you just mentioned one of them, Hawaii. Yeah. That's the food in Hawaii is. When some people they think about Hawaiian food, there's what's the first thing that comes to mind when I say Hawaiian food? Pineapple. Fish, all that stuff, and it's so abundant there, and it's so delicious. Like if you haven't had like a baby pineapple in Hawaii or an avocado in Hawaii, you haven't.
My wife and I, we went there for our honeymoon. We were in the North Shore, and we stayed there for like a week and a half. And after the first 2 days, we stopped ordering food, and we were just like, bring us whatever you have.
That's the way to do it.
Everything here is amazing.
Yep.
And we just every night we went and just ate, just had the chef surprise us with something.
That's the way to do it. And when you're in a place like that where they're cooking food that's indigenous to where they are, it's grown in their in their backyard, and it's from that season. So, and when they're using the freshest of ingredients, they're doing it like Hawaiians are just filled with love, and if cooking is a labor of love, so they're like pouring all that into it on top of delicious ingredients. And so for a chef, it's amazing and totally inspirational, but also as a person living with type 1 diabetes, it's that much easier for me to thrive there, because when you're eating fresh food, when you're in a place like that, you're obviously exercising. What are you doing in Hawaii? Staying in your hotel room? No, you're out there. You're thriving. You're charging. You're outdoors. You're doing whatever I'm sure you and your wife you only slept in your hotel room, you were in the bed, but other than that, you're outdoors.
We also we did a surfing lesson the day after, and we were out the night before. We were a little hungover. It's our honeymoon. Don't judge. And so we go to do the surfing lesson, and we had the best time of our lives.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was a spiritual experience. We also forgot to put hand lotion on our legs and got the world's worst sunburn.
That's why everybody at the North Shore was making fun of you guys, because you were there like, oh, the tourists with their thighs burnt.
Yeah, we totally got caught off guard by that one. But it was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Sunburn aside, we still went out and did whatever we could do.
And that's what you do.
Place to be. Yeah.
So for me, the food answer is Hawaii, but also just like as a human who loves to thrive and be outdoors and take on the energy of that place is Jurassic, right? The leaves are massive, the air is clean, everything about it's just, and so I take my health very seriously, and so being there, I'm like, it's top of my game.
Let me ask you this then. With that being the case, with Hawaii, so much of what you just said is specific, and this is going to be true of any answer to that question, but it's specific to that location, right? So if you find something that you love there and you're inspired by it, but you want to bring that back with you into something that you make here in the States, is that hard to do because so much of it is because of the ingredients and because of what they have?
You could look at it like that. I just tend to look at it that I'm going to make best of what we have, right? So if my pineapple is coming from Whole Foods because I'm not on the North Shore of Hawaii, well, like, so be it. You know what I mean? But yeah, for example, I was in Canada. I was in British Columbia for the past 4 days. And what do you eat in Canada? Like, what's the dish that comes to your mind?
Poutine was
Poutine, dude. Yeah. French fries with gravy and squeaky cheese. But whether you're a person living with type 1 diabetes or you're not, it's not the best option for a meal, like meat, gravy, cheese that came from a bag with the French fries and the whole thing. But what I can do, right, because my buddy was like, man, we've eaten poutine like 4 times in a row. And I'm like, I know, I can't do this anymore. He's like, you should go back to LA and do poutine in a really like, in a manner that you would do it. And I started thinking about it. And I was like, oh, wow, I could do like a really hearty mushroom gravy, and I could lose the cheese and make some kind of like, cashew, I don't know. I could really rip into it. So yeah, I do that. I do get inspiration from wherever I go. And whether it's a place where something like French fries with gravy, and I can turn that into a baked potato, some sort of whatever it may turn into, or if it's in Hawaii and maybe it's musubi with Spam, and I don't want to eat Spam. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to get some, whatever the twists and turns that make it a little bit more, make sense for my body and for the people I'm cooking for. And if I don't have those indigenous ingredients, you just make up for it.
That's super interesting and exciting. When did you, because I think I read somewhere that like your first technical like gig and exposure to food was like you were 16, you were working at Dean and DeLuca and stuff.
I was at Dean and DeLuca, and Martha Stewart came to our opening, and I was like,
really?
Yeah, I was Dean and DeLuca opened their first or maybe it was their first or second outpost, in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was 16, playing basketball and football for high school, newly diabetic, going through puberty, not really knowing it was just all over the place. But I knew that I loved food, and I knew that I was passionate, and I knew that like everything I ate affected my glucose levels, which there affected my mood, which therefore affected my output in life in general. And so I was cooking at Dean DeLuca. Martha Stewart came to the opening, and I was like, wow, Martha Stewart's here. And I was a prep cook, and
so what I was going to say is, like, coming from that, when did you, throughout that journey, find that you had this, I don't know if confidence is the word, but the creativity with which you approach it, like, oh, I'm going to take poutine and I'm going to turn it on its head. That's got to be, like, the comfort to be able to do that has to come with the experience of knowing all these different things, or no?
I don't know. I don't know if I can say that, like, totally agree with that, because I think that I just, at a young age, like when...
early on.
Like when I was 13, I did my first Thanksgiving, and I remember stuffing the turkey with I stuffed the turkey with sausage and oysters when I was 13. Now you might go to one of the better restaurants in New York City in Thanksgiving, or maybe if you were in Louisiana, you might find a dish like that. But I was doing like weird things, like what 13-year-old kid even knows what an oyster is, let alone to put in a turkey.
Do you know why? Do you remember why you
I was a weirdo. I was a weird kid. I had space in my teeth. I was tall. I was gawky. I'm still tall and gawky. I just don't have a space in my teeth anymore. I don't know. We all have like, hopefully we all have one thing that we can latch onto and say that like, this is something I love. This is something I know I'm good at. You're a great host. You're a great eloquent speaker. But you know what you're doing. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I just felt like I knew what I was doing. My mother always told me, like, just let, my dad would be like, he's going to burn the house down. He's like in there 13 years old and like smoking alarms. She's like, just let him go. And I was always playing with my food. I was always just being weird with it. Yes, experience does help, right? Sure. But at a young age, like when I was in college, my friends were like, dude, Sam, go in the kitchen, get in there. And I was the guy that made weird food.
And you were never intimidated by the kitchen or by the process or anything like that. You just got in there, made a mess, and had fun.
It's just all I know.
Yeah, for sure.
It's my innate ability. If I don't cook, my last restaurant was in the Hamptons last summer. 5 months ago. If I didn't cook in another restaurant for 2 years, and then I went to another restaurant and started cooking, it's just like riding a bike for me. It's all I know. Yeah. It's like without that thrill, without the cooking of the 400 people on a 300 people, what am I doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I'm not outdoors and I'm not cooking, then I'm not at my game, top of my game. So,
no, I get that. That makes sense, man. All right, so then tell me about fill in the gaps here. I think I saw a post. I don't know if I interpreted this right, but was last year your first year with the system, the constant monitoring system, the first time experimenting with those, the Medtronic device? Or
well, I've been diabetic for quite some time, right?
Yes.
I'm 42, so I've experienced a lot of different technologies and therapies that are geared towards type 1. This is the first time where I've actually wholeheartedly fallen in love with something, and it's literally been life-changing. I don't know if any of you are type 1 or you know someone with type 1 or type 2 diabetes. Checking your blood glucose levels that's the name of the game, right? Mm-hmm. It's all that matters. And so being 12 to say 20 years old, now 20 some odd years later, the technology then, it was just, so imagine the first cell phone, right?
Yeah.
Like your parents used to carry that clunky thing that went in the car. That's what I was. I had a backpack with all these drills, and I had to go run into the nurse, and I had to prick my finger 12 to 15 times a day. And it's a lot. It's a lot for a kid going through high school. It's a lot for a human who's just living, right? Yeah. So the technology, the advances have just been like truly mind-blowing. So I've tried everything out there. This is the first time where I can actually, like I was telling the team a few moments ago, yesterday or 2 days ago, being on a lift in 20 degrees Celsius weather, if I had to go through the process of pulling off my gloves, going through, checking my glucose level, I would have dropped a meter, I would have dropped something. I'm clumsy. This doesn't happen anymore because now, using the Medtronic Guardian Connect system, it's a little sensor that sits on my arm. Just as quickly as I'm going to answer your email, just as quickly as I'm going to text one of you guys, just as quickly as I can say, hey, I'm going to the store, I can flip one more app over and see my blood glucose level right there, right? Like instantly, without pricking my finger, so it's above and beyond where I thought it was going to be, and we always, as diabetics, as a person living with diabetes, you hear sometimes like, in 5 years, there's always this 5-year plan. And this, to me, and this is the first time where it felt like, oh man, we're there. Like we're there as a community. Like, wow, the technology has brought me to a place where I can be in a kitchen in Nicaragua, I can be in a wave in Hawaii, I can be in a mountain in British Columbia, and I'm good. Yeah. Because I have my cell phone with me, and my cell phone is what is able to give me my up-to-date glucose reading from my sensor. Yeah. So for me, sorry, my nose itches, guys. It's rude, but for me, it's been life-changing. So yes, I've used all of the technologies, and I think it's up to the person and their care provider to figure out what works best for them. But for me, it's changed the whole game.
Well, that was just it. It looked like you said. I don't have type 1, and it's one of those things where if you don't have it, you don't get it. But reading a lot about it, one thing that's abundantly clear and I think is overlooked is the mental burden that comes with having type 1. Because like you said, you've constantly got to be aware of this. You've got to plan ahead. You've got to have all these things. And this device that I saw, I was like, that looks like a game changer where you literally just look at it and there's the info all the time.
True. And, I don't like to be hangry. Do you like to be hangry?
Nobody does.
Do you guys like to be hangry? Like when you're like super hangry and like you're just like, so imagine that, but then like multiply it by 50 because you have a synthetic insulin going through, So if that mental burden, if we're all just hanging out, we're just all a bunch of humans in this room and you guys are all just chilling, you have nothing to worry about right now. You might think about the email you have to answer, it's, whatever, but like I'm up here calculating. I'm like, okay, so I had that coffee in the other room. The other room, so it was 20 carbs, and I have that lifesaver. That lifesaver is 15 carbs. The 15 carbs, my blood sugar, and all this is going on, right? So to be able to eliminate that mental burden, to be able to live, because it also leads to mental health. If you're only focusing on this one thing all day, you start to go a little hectic. So to be able to relieve the hecticness, to be able to relieve all that, like, brain waves, and focus on like the good stuff. I want to focus on cooking. I want to focus on being a good human. I want to focus on inspiring others. I want to focus on teaching others about good eating and exercising and type 1 and type 2. I can't do that if I'm always, but that's what a low blood sugar feels like, is my point, by the way. That's when you're angry. That's what I feel like, only maybe amplified because of the synthetic insulin. You guys are angry just because you're hungry, but
or because we're New Yorkers.
Yeah, or because you're New Yorkers. Yeah, you're right. That's right.
But it's just amazing the amount of mental capacity that you kind of win back just by having this device that kind of helps you. Chicken or the egg? Did you use the device to reach out to them, or did they reach out to you because of like your foundation, your organization and stuff?
It was really what's the word?
Mutual symbiotic.
Yeah, thank you. Symbiotic. It was it was like a love at first sight. You know, when you see something and just made sense. For me, you could tell from looking at my Instagram, I'm never in the same place once.
No.
Right? You were in British Columbia, or you were in Hawaii, oh, you're going here.
I was very jealous.
So yeah, thanks.
Amazing.
Yeah. I paid my dues. Totally.
It is not.
No,
not
I'm just saying.
earned.
But I just didn't want everybody to think like this guy's just up there. Like, I've been in kitchens for 20 years, guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Much deserved.
Much deserved. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget what I was going to say. But so as much as you're able to see what I'm up to, a company like Medtronic is able to see that. And, you know, when the stars align, they're like, oh, this guy's, you know, he's a type 1. He's all over the place. He's happened to be a co-founder of the world's largest 501c3 in that, and socially speaking, in that area, with some really killer co-founders. You guys know Nick Jonas, right?
Never heard of him.
Yeah, he's this small singer. You know. So, you know, Nick and I, with Juliette Dababity, another woman named Sarah Lucas, we founded Beyond Type 1, which is this hat and my little logo.
You have the tattoo, right? Yeah.
I have the tattoo. If you guys all want to go get a tattoo later, we can do that. So anyway, that's But it was just love at first sight. We'll call it that.
Yeah, it just made sense.
Yeah, it made sense.
What's it like with Beyond Type 1? You know, when you were diagnosed, you were 12, as we established. That was a minute ago.
Now I'm 21.
Exactly. But, you know, it was a different planet when you were diagnosed. And now you're able to create this organization which has created a community so people don't feel isolated. They don't feel weird about their disease or anything like that. It's got to be nice to be able to be on this side of it and to create that global community.
It's the best feeling. It's the thing that in my life that I'm most passionate about. It's the, you know, you could give me 3 stars in the New York Times, you can give me a Michelin star, then you could take them away. I don't care. Like, that doesn't get me going. Like, you know, someone, a food review praising or not, the opposite end of that, it just doesn't affect me anymore. What affects me is like the DMs that I get from parents and the messages I get on Instagram and Facebook, and the when my CEO calls and says, there's this family that like you've touched somehow, you know, you've never come across them, but your story, whatever it is, whether you have a tattoo and the kid attracted to that or whatever, but like we change lives. And we, you know, I had my mom and my dad when I was growing up, but I wasn't like the kid that would like go out to like diabetic camps. I don't even know if they existed, but I just know that the community that we've built and the way that people feel about it and the way that we interact, it's millions of people that are with Beyond Type 1. It's not like 20,000, it's not 30,000, it's millions of people that are part of this organization, that are part of that community, that like live and go to our website, find out how to travel, find out how to, everything from, you know, what marijuana does to your blood sugar or having sex does to your blood glucose. It's like we go into the ins and outs of, because those are all human subjects, right? And when you're dealing with type 1 diabetes, it's good to know. It's good to know what you're getting into before you get there. So we love it. And it's the thing that I'm most proud of. Like I said, I have the tattoo in my knuckle, so that's not going anywhere. And it's really cool too, because, you know, I don't know, a lot of, unless you're like the Rolling Stones or whoever, there's not a lot of people, or let's just say charities in general, that like can all have, they're all connected. Like there's like 600 people that have this tattoo. You know, like a lot of people have the Rolling Stones open mouth tongue, but not a lot of people have like medical, like matching tattoos. And I got this tattoo and there's like 600 other people that did it. So if that just gives you a sense of the community that like it's strong, You know what I mean? So.
Well, yeah, and it's just such a valuable thing. I think whenever you're diagnosed with something like this, if you, especially back then, I can imagine if you don't have, you have your parents, that's great, but not knowing other people with it and not being able to reach out, I think it's one of the good things the internet has done for us is enable these kinds of communities and to be able to sort of normalize these really scary experiences.
Of course.
At first, yeah.
And to talk to you about something as simple as traveling. If you're a type 1 diabetic and you're traveling, you're going to get stopped at TSA. Like that will happen to you. And you might be a little embarrassed and it's going to go, and it's good to be able to go to a website and know that, oh, my son is 12 years old. We're going to be traveling to Ohio. So whatever, you know what I mean? It's just, I think people, they like the information, right?
Yeah.
Just like the technology the information that it's giving me, people like information, especially when it ceases surprises with health.
Have you found in having the device and in having that information available, has it revealed interesting patterns or things you were previously unaware of because of how you were tracking?
Yeah, I don't have to be such an anal nutbag all the time. It's, yes. I mean, you can't see it from here, but see like those pricks on my fingers?
Yeah.
So all of my fingertips were like that, all 10 fingers, because I was checking my blood sugar because I want to be, if my blood glucose isn't in check, then nothing else is good. Right. My mood is crap. I'm going to feel whatever, I'm lethargic or this or that and the other. It's like, I know it's hard to understand, but I can only use it to tell you guys like the hangry example. Like if that's how you're feeling, you're not in a good mood. You're not going to be like happy to be around. I just totally lost my train of thought. What was it?
I asked if you detected patterns, and you're saying,
So I was checking. Yeah. So I mean, that pattern of like that routine of checking my blood glucose 10 to 15 times a day. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of needles. It's a lot of plastic. It's a lot of stuff that carrying in your pockets, going blah 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 blah, pulling out things. Now it's just I calibrate my sensor, and I flip. Like I just look and it's right there. So it's just taken out of. It's literally it's given me mental peace because I don't have to be like, oh, my blood, my thing, or I lost it, or now I'm in the water. Now what am I going to do? Like I'm good. I'm waterproof. This is like, it's all good. And when I can say that like wholeheartedly, when I can just be like, oh, this is all good, it's freaking all good.
Well, and it's all, you're just, it is a match made in heaven, and you are a perfect sort of role model and like candidate for this because you're doing everything. It's like you can see, oh, this dude's, he's surfing, he's snowboarding, he's out there cooking meals for 1 billion people. He's doing all this stuff at once, and the sensors working, everything's working. He has peace of mind. So it's kind of like if he could do all those things, then it can certainly handle whatever it is I'm doing today.
Right, and I liked and I like that you point that out because there's a lot of, especially like children that are newly diagnosed, they're going through puberty. It's a weird situation to have to like figure out that like the woes of high school and then add this onto it. So if they can see someone like me or someone like Nick, who's Nick Jonas is another great example, a rock star traveling the world here, there, and ever, and the guy's got to know his blood glucose to be able to be on stage, to be able to go to where he's going. So if we can act as role models to inspire some others, then we're stoked because that's what this whole thing's about.
Speaking of that, reminds me of something I just thought was really cool. I just wanted to call out. You guys have, I think it's Jerry the Bear.
He's rad.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
Yeah, Jerry the Bear. I've traveled with Jerry's our little diabetic bear that we, he's a little stuffed animal that we like bring to children and that are newly diagnosed in the hospitals. And Jerry the Bear has kept me comfort at night sometimes. Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, and he's got his own like device and everything. So it's like,
yeah. My dog didn't do so well with Jerry the Bear. He kind of ate him, but that's a different story for a different day. Wrong show.
We got to go get some questions from the audience real quick. We got a couple in the room, but medtronicdiabetes.com, tons of information, and Beyond Type 1. I'm sorry, I forgot the website.
BeyondType1.org.
.org.
And
right,
then this is medtronicdiabetes.com, and you can find out more about our campaign that we're working out, Live More, Worry Less. And if you guys know any Type 1s or Type 2s, I would direct them to both of these, both of those websites because they're chock full of information, know-how, life hacks.
No, tons of information. My father is Type 2, and I was just browsing the website, and like a bunch of stuff.
We just started Beyond Type 2 as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's pretty amazing. I think I got two. Let's do two questions. I got one with a microphone. You're right over there. Let's hear it. Go for it.
What are some common misconceptions about diabetes that you encounter on the?
Yeah, it's a good question. Some common misconceptions. So I think that a lot of people, there's just some funny ones out there. Like I think that people, for example, people might think that cinnamon will actually lower your blood sugar. That's something that over time I mean, it's like we're talking like a lot of cinnamon you'd have to, you know what I mean? So that's one. Also, I think a common misconception is that like if you're living with type 1 or type 2, you're constricted. You have to live this militant lifestyle, or you are doing wrong. And there's a lot of like, you know, even my friends, like I'll eat something and they'll be like, "You're gonna eat that?" Like, and I'm like, "Dude, what? You don't know my blood glucose, bro." So I think that, you know, with the planning and with I can eat anything that you eat, right? It's just going to take me a little bit more planning, and I might seek out my food to be made in a different manner, you know. But I think that, and there's a lot of jokes that, you know, you see them on late night television or like The Simpsons or whatever, and it's like those diabetes jokes where you'll see like a giant Pepsi and 3 donuts, and it's like, you're gonna get diabetes. That's not how it works at all. And so some of those jokes, and when, you know, we all laugh at jokes, they're funny, but sometimes they annoy me a little bit. And I'm like, that's not funny, and that's not how you get diabetes. But I think the cinnamon is probably one of the top ones that people think if like you just start ingesting massive amounts of cinnamon that your blood glucose will be perfect. It's a weird one.
I wonder where that comes from.
Again, there is a science to it that, you know, but it acts as an anti-inflammatory. It is good for you, but it's just the fact that, like, you know, it might be a sugar stabilizer, but eating tablespoons of cinnamon will not lower your blood sugar. I'm not a doctor, but I do
somewhere
know
along
that.
the lines, like somebody saw that and then extrapolated that into the myth of like, oh, this is all you need.
Yeah.
You do a lot of interesting stuff with cinnamon, like in place of like salt and sugar. Like you
It's
use
awesome.
cinnamon and citrus a lot.
I use cinnamon and citrus. I use cinnamon when I'm making ceviches because you know, also as a diabetic, you're not just watching your sugars and your carbs, but you're watching your sodium intake, your fat intake, and so if you're trying to use less salt, then you want to use more citrus. If you're trying to use less salt, then you want to use more herbs. If you're trying to use less salt, then you use more spices. So for me, like I had a restaurant in Montauk, and one of the most famous dishes there was a crab ceviche with crab, blueberries, and popcorn. Yeah. Like I said earlier, weird kind of combination. Totally weird, but it worked, man. And, you know, Food and Wine wrote about it. It's like, it's a really good dish. But that main spice in there was cinnamon. So you have cinnamon, blueberries, popped popcorn. Then I popped the popcorn and bacon fat, cinnamon, a little bit of yuzu juice and rind, turmeric, and then I'm not telling you the rest because then you guys will know my secrets.
That's fair. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Popcorn and bacon fat is like an obvious but thing I've never.
Dude, I
thought
go
of.
there. I go there all the time with food.
It's brilliant.
I go like weird places.
I gotta do that one.
Yeah.
All right, Kate. Let me get one more question. You got a microphone? Go for it.
With all the travel that you do, you must be inspired and connected to a lot of places. What is it that you look for in a restaurant location? Like, what makes you really connect with a place?
That's a really good question. And I like to see like a little bit, you know, when I go to a restaurant, just in general, I don't like to feel that, you know, sometimes when you go to a restaurant, you can feel that you're like on a stage, just the way that they have the tables, or that like that you're like, it's part of a scene. And, you know, I like restaurants that are very cozy and like kind of tell a story where as soon as I walk in, like, for example, I'll use this place in Hawaii that I was just at. It's called The Pig and the Lady. And it's a Vietnamese like fusion restaurant in Oahu. And, you know, a lot of people, it was pretty hyped up to me from chefs and other people like, oh, dude, check out this restaurant, go. And when I hear all that stuff, I usually kind of go in with like a concerning eye, just being like, this is a lot of hype, let's see. And as soon as I walked into this room, it smelled like, not my home per se, but it smelled like a home, maybe a Vietnamese home. It smelled just like there was a mother in the back, but it wasn't, right? It was like this tattooed dude with like a bandana. But the place smelled just like you want it to smell, and it looked like I wanted it to look, as far as if I'm eating Vietnamese food. And it had this like allure to it that it's like it had something. And that's what I look for. That restaurant that has that thing that's maybe not describable, but it's just got the thing. It's like the je ne sais quoi, right? It's like you walk in, everything's right, the music is right, like the setting is right. Like right here, this is a very beautiful. I do a lot of interviews like this. I travel, as we said, and I do interviews like this all the time. This happens to be a very comfortable space. The way this is set up, it's a very beautiful room. It's easy to talk in. You want it to be like that, and that's how I like restaurants. When you go in and you just know that everything else is so like right on, not fabricated, but just done to the nines. That the food, even if it was a 7, it's still a 10 because it was that much. And the girl, you know, the hostess or the server, they were like smiley and they're passionate. You know, you could just tell those places where
Everything's a choice.
Everything's
Feel
a
it.
choice.
It's considered.
And the waiters and waitresses, they're not a waiter or waitress. They're there because they want to be, because they believe in the chef. They believe in the story behind the food. They believe when you ask them a question, they're like, dude, don't get that, get this. And I'm like, yes, that's what I want to see. I want to see somebody be like, not everything on the menu is good. Get this one because this one is better than that one. So I look for that, and I get stoked when I see. And then I like tip like crazy when I'm in there, because I'm like, I love all of you. And like, you just want to show people that they're doing a really good job. Like you guys, you do a really good job here.
I really sincerely appreciate
man.
that. Thank you so much.
No problem.
A big crew and a lot of hard work goes into it, so it's always nice to have it recognized like that.
Yeah, of course.
That was a great question because I got a compliment out of it.
She's on your stat. She's on your payroll. Right?
That's true.
Totally.
We do. Yeah. I want to thank you for being here, man. Sincerely, it was so
Yeah.
awesome to sit down and chat with you.
Likewise, brother.
And thank the people at MedtronicDiabetes.com for this campaign and for bringing you to me and giving me a chance to talk
man.
to you.
Likewise.
It's been amazing. Thank you guys for being a great audience. Thank you for those that tuned in across the world. Go to MedtronicsDiabetes.com. Keep doing that, but louder because it's Sam Talbot right here. Make some noise. The great Chef Sam Talbot.
Great.